Welcome to the Sewcial Hour Podcast, a podcast for sewists by sewists. I'm your host, Audra.
And I'm your host, Bethany. And today we are talking about sewing on a budget, which I am going to be very honest and say I am not the best at doing. So today we're going to learn from Audra and do what Audra says and learn from my mistakes.
This is one of those perfect situations where Bethany and I are like the yin to each other's yang, and we balance each other out.
I always joke and tell people that like the reason that ads became so popular on social media is because of people like me. I am the person who clicks on the clickbait. I am the person who has the impulse buys.
And I'm the person who clicks on it and then reads all the comments and then reads the reviews and then goes, yeah, that's not going to work out. And then I bail. Let's start with our icebreaker question is, what is the most surprisingly cheap or free tool that you've ever used and absolutely loved in your sewing? Bethany.
I didn't make it. My friend Jennifer made it for me, but I was going to make it, but she was like, no, don't worry, I've got it. It's a TV tray. They're wooden. And she put like Insel Bright and then batting and then cute fabric on top and made like little foldable ironing tables that we could take to sewing club or wherever we were going. And it lives in my trunk for the most part, so I don't forget it at sewing club, but I take it to sewing club every month. I take it to sewing retreats with me. Sometimes I'll bring it into my sewing room or into my studio in here if I need a little ironing station in here, because it's so portable. And then it just folds up flat and leans up against the wall or in my trunk. It's a great way to like repurpose something that you're not using anymore. You just need to make sure that you pad it really well. But yeah, it's like a little portable ironing station, a little DIY. And when the fabric starts to get like a little, you just take it off and put new fabric on. It's like super easy, and it was all scrap. I'm glad she made it for me because I was going to make one myself, but she had an extra. It was free for me. Didn't cost her anything. She had all this stuff already, and we both now have like matching little TV trays we bring everywhere with us when we sew together.
I think that's perfect. And it's like so collapsible and usable, and that seems so applicable in all of our sewing.
If you have a TV tray laying around, or if you see one lone TV tray at the Goodwill or something, grab it and give it new life and make it a little folding, collapsible ironing station.
Mine is, and I've actually talked about mine in a previous episode. I don't remember which episode though, but I know we talked about maybe it was like our most useful sewing tools.
I think we were talking about like our favorite sewing tools, like our most used and least used.
Mine is a porcupine quill. And so for those of you not watching, I'm holding it up. I got this from a vendor at the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show. I think it was $3 or $5. I use it as a stiletto, and this thing has been with me for probably at least a decade, and it's awesome. And I have more than got my money's worth. And there you go, porcupine quill.
It's so unique, and that's like a conversation starter.
I think the first segment we wanted to talk about is kind of like the things you really need, which obviously for everybody is a little different. This is the whole need-want conversation.
It is. It's personal opinion. I will say I've gotten better about this and more conscious of this in recent years. I do a lot of different types of sewing. I do a lot of different types of crafts, which is why I feel like I've kind of impulsed into a lot of stuff because I get interested into a lot of. I don't regret any of it. Let me preface it by saying I don't regret any of it because I made things and I still reach for some of those things and they kind of still come about. But I feel like now I'm a little more conscious of, do I really need it? Am I really going to sew with it? And keeping in mind all that I have. And there's a couple things I want to mention throughout this episode that have helped me retrain my brain a little bit and take pause and not click on the links. But I will say one thing I'm really good about is getting things for a deal or a steal or inexpensively. Like I don't pay full price for anything. If I don't have to. Just know, like, there's a time and a place. You have to be ready for it. If your gut tells you anything about, like, ooh, I don't know, like, listen to it. Don't have buyer's remorse. But at the end of the day, if you're like, that fabric is going to give me my sojo back and it's inspiring me, like, I will tell you to go get it if it's right for you because it's fueling that fire that we've talked about before. But I think you have to decide like what you need, what you don't need. And I think it becomes a little easier to be a little more loosey-goosey with purchases as you've been doing this longer, right? Versus when you first getting started, you're like overwhelmed by all the options, and I don't want you to get things you don't really need. And we've talked about in previous episodes, like Audra mentioned, tools that we reach for, tools that we could have lived without, like all that for a beginner. It's great advice. You don't need the nicest, fanciest machine. You can get a hand-me-down. You can get me one used off Marketplace. Like, I think there's a lot of different ways that you can get things for a good deal, and we'll kind of talk about that here. But, you know, don't feel like you have to have the best of the best because who you're watching on YouTube has this big fancy machine. Don't feel like you have to have exactly what someone else has to be able to make what they're making. Just know, like, they didn't start with those things. They didn't start with the big fancy stuff, and there's no expectation for you to either.
I think too, we as beginners tend to think we need like all the things to get started. And we see it too. Bethany and I are marketers. We get it, especially when you have bundles. Like, oh, well, you could buy just this, but if you buy the bundle with all the things, the question is, though, are you even sure you like the single part before you dive into the whole bundle? And so it's the needs versus the nice to haves. And I encourage you to test run some things before you're actually sure you want them. And so we have our basics that we need. We know what our sewing needs are. You need scissors, you need thread, you need a machine, etc. So those are your needs. Then when you get into some of the fancier notions, the more specific notions, or maybe the machines to cut things, etc. If you're unsure if you're going to like it, a great way to approach it is there someone that has one that you can borrow and you can test run it before you want to make the investment? Mm-hmm. Is there one that's maybe on Facebook Marketplace or rummage sale or something that you can get it and test run it before you make the full investment into something brand new? In this impulse day and age, let's slow down, do some research like I do with my clickbait, test run it, see if you can borrow it, see if you can find it you're used. And if you really, really love it, then you know you're ready to make that investment. And that's just managing that budget outlay of deciding on spending it on your needs versus your nice to haves. Because ultimately, and we saw this with COVID, there's a lot of people who dove into hobbies because we had time and spent quite a bit of money on hobbies because we had time. And then we got back to quote unquote normal life, well, the new normal. And that stuff is now sitting somewhere. So did you have to invest everything that you invested now that it's not being touched? It's slowing down a little bit and deciding where you really want to spend and spending with intention. I love the term spending with intention. And we do this at our house too, especially with eating out. Eating out is super easy to do. Oh, let's go out, let's go out, let's go out, let's go out. But it's like, but if you go out all the time, then it's not necessarily special anymore. You eat out with intention. And same with buying fabric, buying tools. Buy with intention, because if you're just constantly buying all the time, it's not special and unique anymore. It's just whipping out the credit card and new things coming in all the time.
So easy. And then like now, if I'm doing it on my phone, it remembers my information, or I've got the wallet on my phone, or auto fills like my
one click buy. If you start small, you start with your needs and you grow as your skills grow. I'm the same way as you. I have a variety of hobbies and a variety of things, but that's because I've expanded my bandwidth into different areas and different skill sets. Those tools aren't going anywhere. If you don't buy it today, trust me, it's not going away. Wait and see and invest the money a little bit later.
I will say Facebook groups or community groups that are sewing related, if you like, even with my sewing club, if you are a beginner and you're getting into things and you've got a community group that says like, hey, I'm new to sewing and I'm, on a budget, but I really want to try X, Y, and Z. Like, does anybody have any resources that they're not using anymore that, I can maybe either buy from you or get donated? Like, I really want to pursue this craft, but I don't want to spend a lot of money until I know I really, really want to get into it more. And I think if you just kind of put that out there, like, I think people are going to be like, hey, I got a closet of stuff. Let me just pull some stuff for you to practice with before you dive in and start making purchases. End of last year, purged my fabric stash and I couldn't tell you how many bins, like large overflowing bins, to my sewing club. Like 2 or 3 months in a row, we meet once a month. I would bring more. And it was everything from garment sewing, knits, wovens, and quilting cottons, and crafty stuff, ribbons and buttons and Velcro. Like, so much stuff was in these bins. I think I ended up with like a bin left. I like kind of consolidated and had like a bin left of stuff. And then there's a place here in Nashville called Smart Art. It's kind of like the Goodwill of craft supplies, where you donate it and then they can resell it. It's a great place, but they also like support and employ like people with disabilities, and so it goes back to some really good causes and everything. And it's another resource that I send a lot of people locally that are getting into new things to like buy material for cheap or buy notions for cheap, and buy different craft supplies. A lot of teachers go there to get stuff for their classrooms too. So like, there's places like that. You may have one in your community that you can either donate to or go find some new goodies there. You know, I found some vintage stuff there that I really love, and I almost bought another vintage machine one day because I was like, oh, it's stunning. It was in the table. My mom's like, where are you going to put that in your house? I don't know. That's a problem when I get it home. Like, that's how mine thinks. And that's not always good, but just know there's people that want to share what they have because they may not need it anymore. And a great example of this is the other day I posted a reel. You know, I've gotten into this quilting stuff now, and I went to that retreat and I used quilt wall for the first time. And so now I want one. But I'm like, well, if I'm going to invest in one, this is where my research comes into play, Audra. If I'm going to invest in one, I want to make sure I either make one myself or get the right product. Like, I want to do it right the first time. That's going to work for me. And I put it out there, and several people had told me about the Fawns and what is it? The
Fawns and Porter.
Fawns and Porter. It's a weird name, but it's a one that has grommets at the top that hangs. But what really caught my eye about it is it's got grids, which really my OCD loves. And so I love that I can also take it down and put it up and take it down and put up because I have very limited wall space. So being able to use my wall for something when I'm not quilting is very important to me. So I kind of put it out there. Well, one of my retreat attendees from my May retreat messaged me. She goes, I have one of those exact thing. And she didn't know that that's what I was interested in. She just messaged, she said, I have one of these. And I tried to sell it in a yard sale, but like I had no sewers come through my yard sale. And so I would love to just send this to you. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you serious? She's like, yes, I'd love for you to have it. I'd rather someone have it that's going to use it. And I know you'll use it. And I was like, well, that's amazing. I told her I'd pay her for shipping, but she wouldn't let me pay her any money for it. But I just It's an example of like just putting it out there in the universe and see what happens. I did not expect that. I just wanted advice so I could spend my own money, but people just want to love on each other. They want to support each other.
Artists in general and creatives are absolutely willing to help people learn and try new things. And to your point, similarly in Madison, we have the Textile Art Center, and I will do a fairly regular clean out of my sewing space and take a bunch of stuff to the Textile Art Center because they have a sale multiple times a year. And I want to pay it forward. Maybe it was something that didn't work for me. Maybe it's fabric I've grown out of, but I want to pay it forward and help someone else start their creative adventures. And the little girl who lived next door was getting interested in sewing and looking for fabric. Well, that was an easy excuse for me to purge out some of the fabrics that I don't love anymore because you've got a young person interested in sewing. And so there's resources out there. And I will say, I'm this way with clothes as well. There's certain things worth spending money on. Now, I will always shop with coupons if I can find one. Just like Bethany, I don't like paying full price for anything. I don't think anybody does. But there are certain things worth investing in, kind of like quality shoes. Things like quality scissors, quality seam rippers. Those are things that are worth maybe not getting the basic, but really investing in a quality brand because those will last you. I have scissors I've probably had for easily a couple decades. You can get them sharpened. They will be your tried and true if you care for them. So there are things that are worth investing in. But that being said, other things can definitely be done on a budget.
I love that you mentioned that. There are those sewing kits. Have you seen the little mini storage with like, it's got the thread and the little drawers with like little snips and a tape measure or whatever? Singer has one and like other brands have them. And they're great little storage things, but I will tell you, the thread that comes in those is actually not even meant to be used in a sewing machine. It should immediately go in the trash or be used for hand sewing or given to a child to like learn to play with or whatever, but like don't put it in your machine, you'll have issues. When you were talking about like investing in good quality, that's another one I immediately think of. Like what goes in, it matters. So what goes into your machine matters. Good needles, good thread, quality thread, not that like cheapo kit with like 20 different thread colors. It's deceiving, unfortunately, and it's true. We would never put those in our machines, but they look cute in the background on a set. Yeah. So I'm just being very honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't mean you can't find coupons for the quality things.
Yeah.
But just don't be scared to invest in those quality things because they will last.
Because sometimes the more bang for your buck isn't always the best bang. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like it's going to cause issues in your machine if you put that in there.
Well, and that goes back to the bundling conversation. You know, you have these big bundles available of things, but how much of that bundle are you really going to use? You're just seeing like, oh, I can save $200 on the bundle. And it's like, but if you're not going to use everything they give you, are you really saving $200?
Or spend $50 more to get free shipping, but shipping was only $5. So you're like,
right.
I couldn't tell you how many times that's gotten me.
Spaving. It's spaving. Spending to save. Spaving.
One thing I've noticed is like, especially if you're shopping in stores, and you know, maybe this doesn't really apply so much anymore compared to like when Joann's was around, but like sometimes the online deal is better than the in-store deal. And if you don't check the price in store for what's the price is on the app online, then you could be paying more in person. And if you show them that at the counter, they'll price match. So just like do your research.
The theme of this episode is research.
Research. Do your research. Okay, I have a random question for you, Audra. And I would love to know if our listeners do this too. Are you someone who purchases something and then goes and leaves a review, whether it's good or bad, both ways? Or are you someone who purchases something and never leaves a review, but relies on the reviews to make your purchase? Because I would be the latter.
I'm the latter. Yes. I never leave reviews. But I will read reviews anytime I buy anything.
I want to know, who are these people leaving reviews?
And if they're real people. Are they real people?
I don't know. I mean, I love it that people do, because it helps me, like, especially when it comes to like, if I'm buying clothes or shoes online, like, oh, they kind of run on the smaller side. So instead of getting a 7, I may get a 7.5 in the shoe. Those kind of things are very helpful for me, because I loathe shopping for clothes and stuff in person. I am not someone that like purchases something and then goes and I'm done. Once I get it and it's in my hands, I've moved on to something else. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not going to go back and leave a review. That's just not who I am. I honestly don't even know how to leave a review on Amazon. I couldn't even tell you how to do it.
So before Bethany jumps into some of her great resources that she has for getting materials, a quick tip I have is something that we do in our house actually with our freezers, because we have a couple freezers in the house, is having an inventory of the fabrics that you have. And then also a short list or a little shopping list of the things that you know you would like to have that are coming up. So if you see them on sale, you can get them. This way, when we go into stores, we know, okay, I don't need cotton because I have a ton of it. I don't need rayon because I have a ton of it. But if I do see a rayon with a floral print, I would like to have that. Or I'm running low on black canvas. You just kind of know what you actually need in your sewing space. This takes a little time, but probably not as much time as you actually think it does. Even if it's just a quick notebook page of, this is my current inventory of items, this I'm kind of running low on. And then you know next time you're shopping, okay, I actually do need this. I'm not just getting it because I want it.
I think that's a great idea. And honestly, when you were talking about this, I would say I would really start with the consumables that I use on a regular basis. So like stabilizers, interfacing, zippers, notions, needles. I noticed the other day that I was just put my last 2 overlocker needles in my serger. And I'm like, well, I need more. So the next time I was at a quilt shop, I grabbed some because I had made a mental note, but I like the idea of keeping a list of those consumables. I use a lot of white thread and black thread. Like those are the two threads I probably reach for the most. And I was running low on white. So it's like that little mental note. I ran out of my favorite like glue pins for my binding. So I had to add those. So like, I think having that list for me, I would probably put it on my phone. So that way, if I'm at the store and I didn't like look at it before I left the house, I would have like a running list, or maybe I have a written list and I look at it before I leave and put those in my notes in my phone. So I go, oh, I need to make sure I grab these because it's easy to get distracted by the pretty things. I would say I would definitely like for me, I would focus on starting with those consumables you use a lot and then building out a list of your fabrics and breaking it up. I would break mine up into, I'm just looking at bins over here. I would be breaking mine up into like quilting cottons versus garment fabrics and then breaking those out even further. I will say in my sewing room, most of my fabrics are visible. So I can do a quick glance because I don't have a closet to put things in. So mine are in those like cubicles, like cubes, and I stack them really pretty. So I can always see, and like all my denims are together and all of these different types of fabrics are together. My things that are not always visible are the things I mentioned, my interfacings, my stabilizers, my, heat and bond and those kind of things. And I'm just like, I go to reach for it and I'm like, oh, I'm out. And then I have to like run to the store to get some. And now I can't always go do that. So, those are things where I feel like this would definitely be really helpful for me to make that list.
Yeah. So what are some of your go-to resources for buying on a budget?
Like thrift stores, craft stores like Smart Art here in Nashville is a great option. Clearance sections, sometimes those end caps, you just never really know what you're going to find. Fabric swaps. A lot of times if you go to an expo or an event or even a retreat or a class, sometimes even local quilt shops will have like a de-stash bash where you can bring fabrics to swap out for others stuff that people are donating to get something new and remove things that you aren't going to use anymore. Yard sales, estate sales, like keeping up with those, like you can find some really cool things there. Community craft groups, obviously Marketplace, just I don't like using it because I feel like it's unsafe sometimes. Marketplace with caution, I guess I should say. Remnant bins, like there's always like that little remnant section, what's left of the bolt that they aren't selling, they wrap up and like those are great. Those are great for like practicing.
I have show and tell on the remnant bins.
Huh?
I have a remnant show and tell when you're done with your list.
Okay. I was just going to say like, those are all great things. And then like just putting it out there in your community, like, hey, I'm looking to do this, or does anybody have this, talking to local quilt shops, we have a girl in our sewing club. She went to work for the last 3 months at her local Joann before they closed as a part-timer just to be able to get a little extra discount because she's a new sewist and she's still collecting all the things. And so she was able to get a little extra discount and see everything that was coming in on a regular basis to get kind of first dibs on those things to build her stash. And she's like, it was 3 months and she loved it. And she made some new sewing friends from it. There's different ways to put yourself out there.
The remnant bins at Joann's, rest in peace, was always my favorite place to go because it was a great place to find chunks of fabric that you might not normally get at a really great price. And they were usually pretty decent chunks. So I still have quite a few remnants that I bought along the way, but I actually used one. And I'm so excited. For those of you who are not watching, you're going to have to go watch. But I took my remnant and put on the back of this jacket.
It turned out so good.
This sequin remnant is on the back of a denim jacket that I would never wear because I didn't like it. It was too long. But yeah, that was and it was a 30-minute project. And it was fun because I got to sew into the new remnant, gave it new home. And that remnant, maybe cost me like $3 or $4.
That's it. And that's like a fancy bedazzly, and that's not easy to sew with. And so like it was a good challenge, and it like exposed you to that, like mixing two different mediums, like that meshy kind of lace beaded material with like a denim, like that's a challenge in itself. And so I love that you did it. You messaged me when you're like, do you think this? And I was like, yes, do it. I want this in my life.
I got a whole new jacket for $4.
I know. I feel like you need some matching cowgirl boots and like come to Nashville and we'll go to a show.
I could. I'm very glittery.
It's very sparkly, and I am here
Very
for it.
sparkly.
I love it so much. Hobby Lobby has a little remnant section, if you didn't know that. It's on that back wall, usually near the fabric, near the yarn. I've bought some stuff over there just to try out different materials before, or to use for like videos and tutorials and things too, where I don't want to buy a whole lot, and so I could just get a little remnant.
So for Spool School this week, what do you have for us?
All right, so Spool School is a little tip, a little words of wisdom advice this week, and mine is a biannual purge. Okay, so we've been talking about we buy all the things and we are trying to stay on a budget. You can get to the point where there's things that you're no longer reaching for. I do this annually with my closet, my clothes, and my shoes. If I don't wear them within a year and a half, I'm probably not going to, unless it's something specific, but like a fancy gown or something, but like the everyday clothes. You kind of find that you reach for the same things over and over. And so if there's things that are no longer things you reach for, why hold on to them? I've even donated and gotten rid of things that I've made. Even though I made it, doesn't mean I have to keep it forever. I made it 3, 4, 5 years ago. I no longer wear it. I'm not interested in it. So I donate it. I get rid of it. I would say maybe every 2 years, because we don't do the same craft all the time. And maybe this is just speaking for me. If you are very niche in just quilting, or very niche into just garment sewing or bag making, like maybe you do it annually. But I have so many different types of crafts that I kind of mentally do it every 2 years. But I kind of go through, and I did it this past winter, and pulled a bunch of fabrics and things that I know I will never reach for. I pulled a bunch of notions that I've collected from working at Singer and all these other places that I know I'm not going to reach for. I took them to the girls, and then I donated the rest. So I would say a biannual purge, because it helps you, to Audra's point, take an inventory of what you have. So use that time to do so, get organized, and then you can reevaluate, okay, now where do I want to spend, where do I have gaps, where do I want to spend my time and money on, so that you are being intentional with your space, your time, and your money. What about you, Audra? What's your Spool School tip?
Mine is never underestimating your scraps. So to that point, I organize my scraps in a way that serves me, and I have a good mental inventory of what I always have. My cotton scraps, I sort by color family. So all my white and cream cotton scraps are together. My blue cotton scraps are together. My reds and oranges, and then my greens and yellows. So I sort them in those bins. So I know if I'm looking for a certain cotton scrap, I know what colors I have available. And then I also keep my faux leather or my vinyl or my cork scraps all together as well. So if I need to do just like a zipper cord end or a little piece, I know exactly what I have available. So never underestimating those scraps. There's sometimes some really good chunks left aside. And like we talked in the last episode, they're also really good to have around when you're testing a new technique, testing a new stitch, trying something new, just to have those available. You don't need to keep the like tiny 1 inch by 1 inch pieces, but if you have some decent pieces, keep those scraps organized in a way that really serves you, that you can repurpose them into other projects. I keep all my selvages. I've used my selvages, and I've done denim jackets, I've done bags, I've done a variety of things with those selvages, because you can do something really fun with them. And then that's another way that really serves your budget, is that you can use those scraps into other new things versus them getting thrown away when they potentially could have been used for something.
Yeah, I actually just started keeping my selvages from my quilting cotton. I didn't used to do that, but I do feel like the selvages have gotten cuter.
It feels like they're part of the design now.
It does. I have one of those arrow chairs that lifts up. It has that little hidden compartment under the cushion that I never remember about. And it was Chelsea with She Sew Seams posted that she stores her selvage scraps in that little seat in her chair, and I was like, that is genius. And so that's where I put them. That's the only thing that goes there. And then she's like, when it gets full, I just pull them out and I make like a little zipper pouch or whatever with them, and it's fun, and I never know what it's going to look like until I piece them all together, and it's super cute. And I just thought that was such a clever idea, and I was like, well, that's what I'm going to keep there. Now I know that's where my selvages go, and every time I put them in my chair, I think of Chelsea. Fun times. What is your you love to see it, to wrap up our episode today, all about budgets, but what is your you love to see it to end on a positive?
Well, my you love to see see it is every time Charlie finishes a musical, we get a patch and we add it to a jean jacket. It is a thrifted jean jacket, so there's your budget part of this conversation. But it's a really fun memory. Every time she finishes a musical, I order a patch and I add it to her jacket. And she decides where it's going to go on her jacket, and it's a little moment for us. And I document her putting her jacket on. Some of you may have seen it in my reels. It's just really fun. It maybe takes 10 minutes, but it's a little moment for her and I to create this little thing together. As we know, she's not a sewist yet. And it's just really a fun little memory. And so I was able to sew the most recent patch on, and it just brings a little smile to your face because they put in a lot of work. She's got rehearsals multiple nights a week and hours on end, and she's putting in the work. So the least I can do is help her capture that memory in a unique way that she can wear and be proud of.
I would say you love to see it. I know we're talking about budgets, but I also think we've talked about being intentional with your money and investing in the right things. And one thing I just want to say thank you to are the 9 amazing people who signed up for my retreat. Thought about, should I even say this on here or not? But we had talked about the retreat, so I thought I'd follow up about the retreat and let you guys know that I just really appreciate your support. I went live on my Instagram and I cried. Like ugly cried, y'all. Like Kim Kardashian ugly cry. But it wasn't sad tears. It was true tears of joy. And what's funny is my friend Jen messaged me. She goes, I knew it was a big deal for you when you cry because you're not a crier. But when it's things that I pour my heart and soul into and then they actually play out, it's hard not to just have that weight. I don't realize how much weight is sitting on my shoulders until that happens. And then it just comes pouring out. I hope for things, but I don't ever expect it. Not because I didn't put in the work, but I just don't want to set myself up to be disappointed if it doesn't go that way. And honestly, even if just one person signed up, we'd go have the best time ever. And it's fine. I'm already trying to plan retreats for 2026. Audra and I have talked about maybe doing a fun Sewcial Hour retreat, figuring that out. And I put it out there, Audra, so now we have to officially make it happen. But honestly, one of my favorite things I do is meeting you all in person and sewing together and helping you learn something new. So the fact that you guys want to invest in me to learn from me, just the best gift you could give to me. And it just meant the world.
We hope this episode gave you some great tips on how to approach sewing with a budget. And if you need any encouragement on how to sew on a budget or what you should or shouldn't spend your money on, send either of us a message or send a message to the Sewcial Hour Podcast. We are happy to dive in and give you some input. And next episode, we're actually talking about sewing with unconventional materials. So it's a perfect segue.
Yeah, I actually think you should message Audra if you need to be convinced to not purchase something. If you want to be convinced to purchase something, I'm your girl.
Well, I'm not going to say not to purchase it. I'm maybe just going to encourage you to slow down and think about what it is and maybe do some research, being the operative word.
Like the little voices, you have the devil on one side and the angel on the other sitting on your shoulder. I'm not saying I'm the devil over here. This is where Audra and I are going to be the yin and yang. And we're here to love you either way. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. And we've got some fun things planned, but please be sure to go subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can leave us comments over there as well. You can go join our Facebook group called The Sewcial Sewist and chat about the episodes. And we'll see you next week.
Happy sewing.